This is GrantTalk, hosted by Libby Hikind, founder and CEO of GrantWatch and author of The Queen of Grants.
Hi, everybody. I'm Libby Hikind, founder and CEO of GrantWatch.com. I'm the author of The Queen of Grants, From Teacher to Grant Writer to CEO, and I'm your host today on GrantTalk. And sitting with me is Melanie Reeves, and she's the Executive Director of RiverLife. And I'm so pleased to meet you, Melanie.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I've heard so much about you that you were able to obtain grants for ramps for wheelchairs. We get calls all the time about that. And I heard that you found the grant on GrantWatch as well.
We did.
So that's why you're here on GrantTalk, and everybody else who finds grants on GrantWatch is invited to join our podcast. Just send us an email to media@grantwatch.com. We want to hear from you. So Melanie, how did you form your nonprofit? Let's start there with your background and history.
Well, my husband and I were pastors in a local church, and we did that in several different churches over the years, almost 20 years. And we were constantly wanting to find ways to connect our congregation to the outside community, outside the walls of the church, into the community. And we found that this was a real need. It just was something that we kept seeing over and over again. And we decided that God was leading us to do this full time. So we started RiverLife, and the whole premise, the whole reason we exist is to identify critical needs in a community and then mobilize volunteers to serve and meet those needs.
And I was just in Georgia just a
really?
month ago. Yes. And I'm sorry that I didn't know this was scheduled, because I would have come down and said hello.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yes. And I see that there are beautiful homes there, as well as homes that need a lot of repairs. So you have quite a dichotomy of people there.
Yes.
You went on to the online platform GrantWatch.com. What brought you there?
Well, we have been looking for grants since 2018. We've been in existence since 2015. And we were just starting local. We looked for funding opportunities from individuals and churches and groups, some local grants, local charities, and we knew we needed more as we began to grow. And so last year, in 2024, we found GrantWatch, and we had researched some different platforms that we could use and decided to try GrantWatch for a year. And if we were awarded a grant, it would pay for itself. And so we just took a chance, and then literally within a few months, we were awarded our first grant.
And GrantWatch is only $199 for the entire year, so I guess it really paid off. So what did you do with the money?
We requested a grant from the George A. Ramlos Foundation, and it was beautiful. It was a perfect fit for Georgia and for special projects. And we requested $4,500 to build 5 ramps. And we requested it in August, and then within 2 months, we were awarded the grant.
And that's really a very short turnover. A lot of people sometimes have to wait 6 months.
Yes.
So you really got your reinforcement for writing a great grant very quickly.
Yes.
You got enough money to build the 5 ramps?
We did. We received $4,500, and we already had a list of needs. So we immediately began organizing our teams. And by the end of 2024, we had completed all 5 ramps with our volunteer groups.
Do you still have a long list?
We do. Unfortunately, the need is great. And so we always have a running list of needs in the community.
Well, if people comment below and write RiverLife so that we know that they want to get in touch with you, we'll let you know. And send the email address or something so that RiverLife can communicate with you and you can help out other people. The people that are using the wheelchair ramps, can you describe a little bit about their needs and what their lives are like now?
Wow. Well, I'll tell you about one. One is Miss Mary, and she's 83. She has dementia and started to decline pretty rapidly. She had a fall and was wheelchair bound, so she was no longer able to access her home in or out. So she had to rely on other people to come and get her, to take her places, and it was just it was very difficult for the family members. And so they reached out to us. We were able to fund a grant, fund the ramp for her. We received an email back from her daughter, and her daughter said that for the first time in months, she had been able to go to her church that she's been a member of for 50 years. And just being able to get her out and be able to come and be with her community was just a game changer. Even to go to doctor visits or go shopping, just to the grocery store, it was really a game changer. So a ramp can change somebody's life, literally.
And you've just changed mine, because when I go to sleep tonight, I'm going to think about Miss Mary and how my business helped her. And
Absolutely.
I'm very pleased. That's beautiful. And I love getting those notes. I actually get letters from people that are on GrantTalk because they're thrilled to have been here. So all these things, people, when you say thank you and you let people know how they've touched you, it really, really makes a difference. So you need more wheelchair ramps. Besides that, what else is your organization looking for?
Well, we also do outside home repair, exterior home repair. We do yard cleanup for seniors and veterans and people with disabilities who just can't do the work anymore. People who have done their yard work their whole life, and now they're just physically unable to, and they don't have the means to pay a company or pay an individual to come and help. A lot of the people that we serve they don't have a lot of community. They may not have family around. They just may be isolated. And
Right.
so they just need helping hands. So a lot of times what I like to tell our volunteers is, this person that you're about to serve doesn't have community. So we're bringing community to them. But we mobilize volunteers to do all of these types of projects. We even do disaster relief. Back in 2021, we experienced an EF4 tornado that came through Noonan and just devastated our community. So we spent several years mobilizing teams to clean up debris. And
right. It doesn't end. Just people think, okay, there was a tornado and now people will move on, but things really just don't end at that point.
Right. That was in 21. And we still there's a family that we're helping rebuild a fence. It's the last thing before they're back to normal. This is 4 years later. So it took a long time to recover from that. But we also, because we experienced the devastation of that tornado and we were very involved in our communities rebuilding, we know how important that early response is when a community is in shock and doesn't really know where to start. We can now mobilize and go to other communities to help with disasters for that initial response, and for, continuing cleaning up debris.
So basically, it sounds like you need money.
We always need funding.
Because to clean up yards, you need equipment. To help with disaster relief, you need supplies.
Yes.
And there are grants out there for you. We have many grants under disaster relief as well on GrantWatch. So keep looking.
Yes.
And everybody else, when a disaster hits, then you need the money. But it's very important to be prepared for a disaster and get that mobilization in place. So again, if RiverLife figured out how to do it from a small community, so much so that they can help other communities, write to them and let's, get prepared, because when we're not prepared, bad things do happen, right?
It's
And
inevitable.
yeah, it is inevitable. And so we have to get there. So how did you get into grant writing? Is it just because of the need, as I did, or you learned it somewhere? What happened?
It is really out of necessity, honestly, as
Necessity is the motherhood of invention, right?
absolutely.
And that's how my career started, necessity.
Yes.
And I write about it in The Queen of Grants because I was a teacher, and I just needed to bring my special ed class into the computer room. This goes back, way back, when the Model 4 Tandy was this humongous one-piece unit. It didn't do what we needed it to do. And so there was no money in the school district, and the school district was willing to teach me how to write a grant because Tandy was actually offering a grant for a Model 100, which is one of the first little iPads, basically. The screen was there. There was a keyboard that actually was above the surface. It wasn't just on a screen, but the screen was a green screen, and it was all of about 4 inches high and maybe 4 inches by 6 inches, something like that. It's called the Model 100. There's still pictures of it online. And that's how I started. And then I won my first grant, and the rest became history, and it's actually in my memoir.
Awesome.
So is this the first grant that you wrote?
Well, here's my blessing is that I have two wonderful people. One is my board chair, and one is my office manager. So my board chair actually writes grants and has written, I can't even count how many grants she's written, just as part of her profession, working with another organization.
So you're very lucky to have her, really.
We realize that. I keep telling her, please don't leave.
What's her name so we can give her a little credit on this GrantTalk?
Her name is Lorraine Burt, but you can't have her.
Okay.
I'm not sharing. I'm just kidding. She actually really loves to help organizations write grants. So
it's because we own GrantWriterTeam.com, and grant writers can put up their profile, and grant seekers can put up a small classified ad, basically, and that's where the two meet. Grant writers hang out on Grant Writer Team, so it's kind of our form of LinkedIn. So you can let her know if she ever has a spare moment, because if she's a grant writer, she probably doesn't.
Absolutely. So she's actually teaching my office manager how to write grants. So this is a learning experience for her and myself. So we all three collaborated on this first grant through GrantWatch.
You're building capacity within your organization.
Yes.
That's great. And that's what you should write in the next grant application. You should say how you won your first grant, because $4,500 is a substantial amount of money. And we call it the cascade effect. And every time you apply for a grant, put the grant history of what you've received, and the organization will say, oh, they were able to manage the $4,500. They met their goals. They built 5 wheelchair ramps. And so we can trust them, and we can give them $10,000 or $20,000 because they're asking, and we know they're going to use it appropriately. Those are the things we need to do in our grant applications.
That's great. That's good advice.
So what do you think was the hardest part about writing the grant application?
I think making sure that the funder or the grantor, making sure that we were a good fit, making sure that we matched what the funder wanted to give a grant toward.
So it's not just, and I'm just talking to our audience, it's not just meeting the eligibility of the grant, because foundations and government agencies will tell you who is eligible to apply for the grant, what type of organization, how long you've had to have been in business, or how many people you serve, if you filed your audited statement. Every funder has their own eligibility criteria, but now it goes to, will your application meet the vision that the foundation has for how they want to spend the money? And that's what we're saying here. So they were eligible, but their grant application has to be in line with the vision of the funding source. Am I right?
That's exactly right.
And if you don't, then, the people that are reviewing the application are going to say, like, well, why are they writing to us? It's not something that we do. I mean, just think about it for a minute. What if you were applying for an after-school program and that was not in anything that's in their mission or vision? So your application, after all the work and hours put into it, would be set aside, right? But if you're applying for something that has a community impact, that changes people's lives, and that's what this funding source wants, then that's going to be applicable. So I'm really, really grateful to have met you. I hope you continue to apply, find the grants on GrantWatch, because I know you will, and let us know how it worked out. And remember, everybody, in the bottom, comment the word RiverLife if you'd like to get some information about them, as well as subscribe to GrantWatch and follow us so we can get more GrantTalk videos out to you, and we can speak to the people and the organizations that receive the grants that they found on GrantWatch. And we can hear that people aren't applying for grants so that they can buy a new car. That's not what this is about. People that are really committed to their community are applying for grants to serve the people in their community in a much better way. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, Melanie.
Thank you so much. It was a joy to be with you today.
Thank you for tuning in to Grant Talk, powered by GrantWatch. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this GrantWatch channel. Please consider subscribing to GrantWatch.com, and you can find the book, The Queen of Grants, by going to GrantWatch.com/book. Thank you again for spending your time with us.